Hello, this is Kim from Lakeside Loops, and today I'm going to show you how to make our Parker Cable Crochet Socks. This is an example of what the finished sock looks like. This is our smallest size, our little 6-month baby sock, and this is the women's small size. Um, just so you can see the difference in size, but I think still just as cute. It makes 11 different sizes. And on this video, I'm going to show you how to make the smallest size, our baby or 6-month size, just for the sake of saving time. But everything I show you in this tutorial is all that you need to know in order to make the larger sizes as well. You will have to follow along with your written pattern if you're making a size larger than the baby size. So this tutorial is to use with your written pattern at the same time, just to help you with any steps you're having trouble with. So we'll set those aside, and I'm going to start right from the beginning. So round 1, we're going to chain 3, and now we're going to put 9 double crochets in the 3rd chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, in the very first chain that we made, or that we had on our hook already, we're going to put 9 double crochets. Alright, so we've just finished our 9 double crochets, and now we're going to slip stitch into the top of our beginning chain. Now for round 2, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to do 2 front post double crochets around each of our stitches. So you've probably done at least one front post before, but we're going to actually make one front post, and then we're going to make a second front post double crochet on that same stitch. So I'm just going to put my hook behind the stitch again, bring my yarn around, and complete my double crochet. So we've got 2 front post double crochets wrapped around the same stitch, and we're going to do that all the way around. Alright, so you should have made 18 front post double crochets all the way around, and now we're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of our chain. And that's the end of round 2. Now for round 3, we're going to chain 2. We're going to front post double crochet around the next stitch, and then we're going to do 2 front post double crochets around the next stitch. And we're going to do that all the way around. So 1 front post double crochet, and then 2 front post double crochets. Alright, so at the end of round 3, you should have 27 front post double crochets. And again, we're going to join our round with a slip stitch into the top of our chain. Now for round 4, you would only continue on to round 4 if you're doing one of our larger sizes. If you're doing the baby sizes or the toddler, you would stop here and move on to round 7, which is what we're going to do in this video because I'm doing the baby size. But if you're doing one of the larger sizes, just have a look at your pattern and keep on going, making your circle larger and until you get to round 7, or until it tells you to move on to round 7. So round 7 is just to chain 2 and then front post double crochet all the way around. Alright, so I've just finished round 7, and I've front post single crocheted all the way around, and now I'm going to join my round with a slip stitch into the beginning chain. And now for round 8, it's the same, chain 2 and front post double crochet all the way around. Alright, so I'm at the end of round 8. And for round 9, if you'd like the rest of your sock to be a different color, so what we've done so far is the toe, if you'd like the rest of your sock to be a different color, this is where I would switch colors before you join your round. So I'm going to grab the color that I'd like to use for the bottom of my sock. I'm making a sock just like this one. So I'm going to switch to gray now. We've done the toe, and now I'm going to switch into gray. So I'll insert my hook into the top of the chain. But instead of grabbing my white yarn to slip stitch, I'm going to hook onto my gray. I'm going to pull it through the top of the chain and then through my stitch, pull all my yarn tight, and I'm ready to go for round 9. So round 9 is just chain 2 and front post double crochet all the way around. Alright, so I've done round 9, and now again I'm going to slip stitch into the top of my beginning chain to finish off this round, and just always slip stitch into the top of that chain. Now for round 10, this is where the cable starts. So I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to front post double crochet around the next stitch. Now if you're doing a larger size, you might have to front post double crochet around more than just one stitch, so have a look at your written pattern. The next step is to skip the next 2 stitches. So I'm going to skip these 2 stitches, and I'm going to front post double crochet around the following 2 stitches. 1, 2. Now, this is the hardest part of the pattern coming up next. So instead of going back to your skip stitches this way, you're going to go behind the 2 stitches that you just made. So I'm going to yarn over twice, and I'm going to put a front post treble crochet around each of my skipped stitches. So I've yarned over twice, I'm putting my hook behind the 2 stitches that I just made, and I'm putting it just before the stitch that I need to put my treble crochet around. I'm going to push the stitches that I just made down, poke my hook through to the back, and then bring it around that stitch that I need to put my front post treble around. And then yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. Now we're going to do it a second time around our second skip stitch, this guy right here. So I've yarned over twice, and again I'm going to push these 2 stitches down, and I'm going to get my hook around that second skip stitch and yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. So your first 2 treble crochets should be in the front, and your second, the ones that you just made, are behind those. That's the hardest part of this pattern. If you can get that down, then you're all set from here. So we're going to do that 2 more times. So I'm skipping the next 2 stitches, and I'm going to front post treble crochet around the following 2 stitches. Alright, and then I'm going to yarn over twice, and I'm going to go back and put a front post treble around that skipped stitch, working behind the 2 stitches that I just made. There we go. And one more time. Alright, so that is the hardest part about these cables. Now, if your fingers just aren't wrapping that way or you're having a hard time with it, send me an email. I do have a modification that I can give you. It's just a different style of cable that you can use to make the sock. So it won't look like this in the front. It'll be a different type of cable, but the rest of the sock pattern will be the same, and it's still really very cute. So if this is just not working for you, then just let me know, and I want to help. Alright, so back to our pattern. Now we're going to front post double crochet around our remaining stitches in the round. Alright, so I've finished round 10, and I've joined my round by slip stitching into the top of my chain, and I'm ready for round 11. So I'm going to chain 2, and instead of doing a front post double crochet this time, I'm going to half double crochet into my next stitch. And if you're doing a larger size, you'd be half double crocheting into more than one stitch. Alright, now we're going to get back into our cables. So we're going to front post double crochet around our first 2. 1, 2. Now we're going to skip our next 2 stitches, which are the ones that are tucked in behind, and we're going to front post treble around the following 2 stitches, which are these ones pointing toward our hook. So I'm going to yarn over twice and front post treble crochet around those 2 stitches. 1, 2, and now we're going to go back to those stitches that we just skipped, and I'm going to put a front post treble around each of those. So this time, our first round we were going behind our trebles. This round it's just normal. We're just going across the front like we normally would. So reach back to that first skipped stitch and make a front post treble. And then the second skipped stitch, another front post treble. And we're going to repeat the same thing. So we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, which are the ones hiding in behind here, and we're going to front post treble around the following 2 stitches, the ones that are pointing toward our hook. So 1, 2, and now we're going to go back to our skipped stitches and front post treble around each of those. Now we're going to do a front post double crochet around the last 2 stitches of our cable. 1, 2. So that's it for the cable part of this round. Now we're going to go back and do half double crochets. So we're going to have a little section of half double crochets after our cables. And in my size, I need to do 2 half double crochets. If you're doing a larger size, you have to look at your written pattern to see how many half double crochets, and you're putting them into the stitches. Now we're going to switch back and do front post double crochets to finish off our round. Alright, so I finished round 11, and again I'm going to join my round by slip stitching into the top of my chain. Now for round 12, I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to half double crochet into my, it's a hard guy to get into my first stitch, and if you're doing a larger size, you're going to half double crochet into more than just one stitch. And now we're going to get back into our cables again. So these cables are the same as round 10. So you're going to skip the first 2 stitches and front post treble crochet around the following 2 stitches. 1, 2, so you have this. Now you're going to front post treble around your 2 skipped stitches, but you'll be working behind the 2 stitches that you just made. So bringing my hook behind, I'm going to grab a hold of that first skip stitch and push those 2 that I just did down. And now I'm going to finish my front post treble. There's 1, and now I'm going to front post treble around my second skip stitch. So again, I'm just pushing those 2 first trebles down, and I'm getting my hook around my second skip stitch and front post treble. There you go. Now we're going to do that 2 more times. So skipping 2 stitches, 2 front post trebles, and then going back to our skip stitches, working behind the ones that we just made. Front post treble around our first skip stitch, and a front post treble around our second skip stitch. And one last time. So I'm skipping the next 2 stitches, and I'm going to front post treble around the last 2 stitches of our cables. So 1 front post treble, a second front post treble, and now working behind the 2 stitches that I just made, I'm going to take my hook behind them and front post treble around our first skip stitch and our second. All right, so that's what your cable should look like when you're done. Now we're going to half double crochet into the next 2 stitches. If you're doing the baby size, if you're doing a larger size, just have a look at your written pattern. So 2 half double crochets, and then I'm going to front post double crochet around the remaining stitches in this round. All right, so I've just finished off round 12, and if you're doing a larger size than this, just have a look at your written pattern. You're going to repeat rounds 11 and 12 until it says to stop in the pattern. For the size that I'm making, the smallest baby size, I stop at round 12 and move on to the heel. So for the heel, we're going to chain 2, half double crochet into the next stitch, then we're going to front post double crochet around our next 2 stitches. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, which are the ones hiding behind, and front post treble around the following 2 stitches. And then we're going to go back to our skip stitches and front post treble around the first skip stitch, and front post treble around the second skip stitch. And we're going to repeat that. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches and front post treble around the following 2 stitches. And then front post treble around our 2 skipped stitches. You're probably getting tired of hearing me say front post treble. There are a lot of those in this pattern. All right, and now to finish off this set of cables, we're going to do a front post double crochet around these last 2 stitches that are part of our cable. Front post double crochet. All right, now we've come to our little section of half double crochets. So I'm going to do 2 half double crochets. If you're doing a larger size, just have a look at your written pattern. And now this is where it gets a little bit different. So we're working on the heel part now, and we're working on this increase right here. That section of front post double crochets that looks a little different than the others. That's what we're going to create right now. So we're going to do 2 front post double crochets around this next stitch. So just like when we were making the toe of our sock, 1 front post double crochet and a second front post double crochet around the same stitch. And now we're going to front post double crochet, in my case, around the next 10 stitches because I'm making the baby size. If you're making a larger size, just have a look at your written pattern so you know how far to go. But you're just going to double crochet until you get to until you have 1 stitch left. All right, so I have 1 stitch left in my round. I've done my 10 front post double crochets. There's 1 stitch left. I'm going to put 2 front post double crochets around this stitch, but it's a little bit different than when we were doing that in our toe or earlier on in this round. So I'm going to put my first front post double crochet around the stitch. Now for my second front post double crochet, I want it to be above the one that I just made on the post of the stitch. So I'm going to pull the stitch that I just made down a little bit. I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to put my hook around that stitch just above the front post double crochet that I just made. So I'm going to get as close as I can so you can see that. So this was the first front post double crochet that I made, and then I pushed it aside or pushed it down and made a second front post double crochet above it on that same stitch. Now I'm going to join my round with a slip stitch into my chain. Now round H2, H for heel. We're going to chain 2, we're going to half double crochet into the next stitch. More half double crochets if you're doing a larger size, just have a look at your written pattern. Now we're going to do our cable section here. And these are the cables where we work behind. We're going to do 3 sets like that. That was one crisscross set. And we're going to do another one. Again, working behind. And one more set. So skipping 2 stitches, front post treble crochet around the following 2 stitches. And now working behind the 2 stitches I just made, I'm going to front post treble crochet around my first skip stitch. And again around my second skip stitch. Now we've come up to our section of half double crochets here. So I'm going to half double crochet into the next 2 stitches. If you're doing a larger size, again, just have a look at your pattern. All right, now we're back to this portion of the heel that we're trying to increase. So I'm going to front post double crochet around my next stitch. And then I'm going to put 2 front post double crochets around the following stitch. So it should look like that. Now I'm going to front post double crochet around the next 10 stitches. In my case, if you're doing a larger size, you would be front post double crocheting around more than just 10. Just have a look at your pattern. But you're going to front post double crochet until you have only 2 stitches left in the round. So I've done my 10 front post double crochets, and there are 2 stitches left in the round. And I'm going to put 2 front post double crochets around this next stitch. Now this is the one where I put my first front post double crochet like usual, but my second one I want it to be above my last stitch. So I'm going to push that front post treble crochet down a little bit and wrap my hook around that stitch just above where I made that last front post double crochet. So it should look like that. And then just a normal front post double crochet around that last stitch in your round. Now I'm going to join to the top of my chain with a slip stitch. And that's it for round H2. Now you're probably starting to get the hang of this. Round H3 is pretty similar. So we're going to chain 2, half double crochet, and again, have a look back at your pattern. I'll do my cables, and then I'll meet you back when it's time to increase our heel. Alright, so I've just finished my cables, and now I'm into my half double crochet section here. So 1 half double crochet, 2 half double crochets, and if you're doing a larger size, just have a look at your pattern. Now we're back to this heel increase. So I'm going to front post double crochet around the next 2 stitches. 1, 2, and I'm going to put 2 front post double crochets around this third stitch. 1, 2. So it should look like that. Now I'm going to front post double crochet around the next 10 stitches. Again, if you're doing a larger size, just have a look at your pattern. Alright, so I've done my 10 front post double crochets, and I can see there are 3 stitches left in my round. I'm going to put 2 front post double crochets around this next stitch. 1 front post double crochet. Now my second front post double crochet for this stitch is going to go above the one that I just made. So just like before. Great, there are my 2 front post double crochets around the same stitch, one on top of the other. And now I'm going to front post double crochet around the last 2 stitches in this round. 1, 2. And now I'm going to join with a slip stitch. into my chain. Now we're on to round H4. And again, I'll meet you back when it's time to increase our heel. Alright, so I've just finished my cables and my little section of half double crochets, and I'm back to where our heel is getting a little larger. I'm going to front post double crochet around the first 3 stitches. And now I'm going to put 2 front post double crochets around this next stitch. 1 and 2. So that's what it should look like for you. Now I'm going to front post double crochet around the next 10 stitches. Again, if you're doing a different size, just have a look at your pattern. Or you probably know it by now. Alright, so I've just front post double crocheted around my 10 stitches. I have 4 stitches left in my round. I'm going to put 2 front post double crochets around this next stitch. And again, this is the one where I work that second front post double crochet above my first on the same stitch, like that. And now I'm going to front post double crochet around the last 3 stitches in this round. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to join my round with a slip stitch into my beginning chain. Alright, now if you're doing baby or toddler sizes, you stop here and you move on to row H7. If you're doing larger sizes, you're going to keep going and just making this heel a little bit wider before you move on to H7. Alright, now for round H7, you're going to turn your sock and you're going to be working from the inside of your sock. You're going to slip stitch into the next, in my case, 3 stitches. If you're making a larger size, have a look at your written pattern. But for the baby and toddler sizes, you're going to slip stitch into the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to skip the next stitch and I'm going to front post, sorry, I apologize, I'm going to back post double crochet around the next 12 stitches. That's for the baby and toddler size. If you're doing a larger size, you would back post double crochet around some more stitches. So let me turn my work around. So I'm skipping this stitch here, and I'm going to back post double crochet starting with this stitch and then all the way around the back. So I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to grab a hold of that first stitch and back post double crochet, and I'm going to do that 11 more times for a total of 12 back post double crochets for the baby and toddler size. Alright, so I've just completed my 12 back post double crochets, and if you take a look at the outside of your sock, you can see I just did stitches around this part of my sock. I didn't do anything around this increase that we just finished making. I'm actually going to slip stitch into this so that I fold the back of my heel up as I go. So now I'm going to slip stitch into the next 2 stitches to finish off this row. And that's the end of row H7. Now we're going to turn and work from the outside of our sock again. I'm going to skip this next stitch right here, and I'm going to front post double crochet around this stitch and all the way around the back of the sock. In my case, 12 front post double crochets because I'm doing the baby size. If you're doing a larger size, just have a look at your pattern to see how many front post double crochets you need to make. Alright, so I've made all of my front post double crochets, and again, I've just done this back section. I haven't done any front post double crochets around this little lower section that we just did in our previous round that we just created. I'm actually going to slip stitch into this so that I can close it up. So I'm going to slip stitch into the next 2 stitches. 1, 2. All right, so from here, I think you're good to go following the written pattern. Everything that we've done in this video tutorial covers all of the tricky parts in the written pattern. You're just going to continue going back and forth like this. This is the section that you're working on right now, going back and forth to close off that increase that we made, and it's going to make a little round heel for you. Then you're going to go back to doing just your regular cables, your half double crochet sections, and your front post double crochets around the back. When you get to the top of the sock, as you'll see in the pattern, there are two options for how to finish the cuff of your sock. You can just do front post double crochets, or you can alternate between front post double crochet and a half double crochet. So that is it for the instructions. If you still have questions or you're having any trouble with any of the steps, please don't hesitate to email me. It's lakesidaloops@gmail.com. I'm happy to help any way that I can. I am very, very grateful for your purchase and your support. I hope this tutorial has been helpful. Thank you for bearing with me, and have a great day.